everyone, welcome back to the program. Today I'm counting down my top 5 favorite Beatles songs. Now, a little backstory. On my Patreon page, I put it out there that I want to start doing a monthly Patreon question. Basically, questions that don't require a lot of research, that are more opinion-based, and they're topical. And I got some really great responses. I picked my top 3 favorite, and this one won out. Now, before I get into the songs that I picked, I have to say it was such a fascinating experience. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do this, or have done this, or have changed it over the years, but it's one of those things I never thought about. I never thought about what is my favorite Beatles song. I just kind of assumed certain songs were my favorites. But once you start really narrowing it down and sort of cutting out the ones that maybe you don't love as much as others, and then you really start getting down to the top 5, oh my goodness, it was very, very surprising. Right off the bat, it is very difficult to narrow it down, even down to like top 25 songs, but to top 5, there's things you have to take into consideration. What was most interesting were the songs that I actually let go, and what albums I didn't pick from at all, like Sgt. Pepper's. No songs came from Sgt. Pepper's. I didn't pick any songs from Revolver or Rubber Soul. And I was very surprised how much I pulled from Abbey Road, to be honest, because I think what happens is, and I should really re-review that album, especially for the 50th anniversary, but there's certain songs on there that just, they bug me, which is funny because it's my wife's favorite Beatles album. And thankfully we did match on one song, and I'll tell you which one that is in a little bit. But just overall, it was very, very interesting to, how to really narrow it down to 5 songs and how you choose those songs. And, if I don't pick yours, don't be offended. I mean, this is really just for fun. That doesn't mean I don't like your song. It's just these are my favorites. So with all that, let's kick this countdown off, starting with number 5, Dear Prudence. Now this should come to no surprise. I love the White Album. I've long said it's my favorite Beatles album, although that may be changing, we'll see. And I knew one song had to come from the White Album. I was just surprised that it was Dear Prudence. I would have thought it was going to be Blackbird, but the more I listened to the rest of the songs, the more I felt like Blackbird, for as beautiful as it is, and I know it's a Beatles song, but it's really just Paul McCartney and an acoustic guitar and some bird sounds, and there's not a lot to it. And so, if you know me, I like complexity. I like things that evolve and change within a song. And Blackbird is just, it kind of starts a certain way and it ends a certain way. And I had to let it go. It was very difficult. But, Dear Prudence, though, I talked a lot about it in my White Album review, but just, suffice it to say, just the way it builds, and it has this melancholy about it. I think you'll find that a reoccurring theme for me. I love melancholy in music. And I love how together everyone sounds in this track. And the snare drum and just the biting guitar on here. Just overall just makes this wonderful, flowy sort of march. It's got this this beautiful sentiment in the lyrics. And yeah, and John Lennon's vocals, oh man, so good. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we have And I Love Her off the Hard Day's Night soundtrack. And this is primarily a Paul McCartney song, although it's credited to Lennon and McCartney as usual. But oh my God, just the clav, I think it's a clav or it's a wood block, that percussion, the overall simple arrangement of this song, the harmonizing vocals, the wonderful classical guitar, the nylon string guitar, just kind of plucking out these notes. To me, this really embodies everything that made the early Beatles fantastic. There were earlier songs I did, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love. Like I really enjoy those songs, and I wanted to put one of those in there. But you know, like I said, the more you cut down this list, those ones have to go because they don't move me like this song does. This is the one song that my wife, we would both put on our, well, obviously it's in my top 10, but this is the one song on my list that's also in my wife's top 5. So we match on that level. Yeah, but I mean, it is a love song, but it's got this tinge of melancholy right on top, and it's almost, I mean, it is a perfect song for me. And the guitar solo breakdown, it's just a beautiful tone. Overall, fantastic arrangement of the vocals, percussion, even though there's a little bit of bass in there. It's hard to hear, but it's there. Just a beautiful song. Coming in at number 3, we have Penny Lane off the Magical Mystery Tour US LP. Now, this song, this is like, in my mind, a near perfect chamber pop song. I mean, it's just the blueprint of how to do it. And this is primarily a Paul McCartney written song. The lyrics are just about sort of like the everyday, the beauty and the everyday, the common things, the things that pass you by. And it's a bit nostalgic, I have to assume, for Paul and probably the rest of the band too, but just the way it has this bright, sunny atmosphere about it, it's just gorgeous. And man, it's a magical song. I have to say that. It casts a spell on me, puts me in a fantastic mood, it makes me smile. I'm just thinking about it, smiling. And that is the magic of the Beatles to me, right there. This song really embodies that. At number 2, we have Something off Abbey Road. I had a really hard time because I love this song, but I also love My Guitar Gently Weeps. And those two songs were battling it out on my list, and I felt that I could only pick one of them, which might sound silly, but they're kind of similar. I know they're not. That might be blasphemous to say, but they kind of have a similar vibe, at least for me. You know, the more I listen to both of them, the more I started leaning towards Something. And I think that's because My Guitar Gently Weeps, as much as I adore that song and I love it, the official Beatles version I don't love as much as the solo version, the solo acoustic version done by George on his own. And to me, that is how that song should be. And, you know, Eric Clapton plays on My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it's great, it's fantastic, and I love that. But Something, I mean, it sounds silly to say, but there's something about Something. It's a gorgeous love song. It speaks to that ineffable quality of whoever you love, and again, how they can cast a spell on you. And it's beautifully written, beautifully played. The guitar lick on here carries that sort of that heartache, a bit of a heartache, like a love sickness. And then there's this kind of wash, this almost like ocean kind of crevassing in a way. Just this, I think it's a cymbal. It's a very like rippling cymbal feel, but there's also these strings. The guitar tone on here is lovely. The piano really carries this song, and then into the bridge. Oh my gosh, the sort of the snare hits by Ringo. Oh my goodness, just asking these questions. Will my love continue to grow? I don't know. Just the uncertainty of that. You know, you're so madly in love, but yet it could so easily fall apart. My goodness. Very relatable song. Gorgeous all the way through. There's so much to get from it. And it's interesting too, because a lot of people who watch this channel think I'm a Paul McCartney guy. And I love Paul McCartney, don't get me wrong, but I've always saw myself as a George Harrison guy. And, you know, having this song so high on the list, I think sort of reaffirms that for myself. Granted, I did pick 2 Paul McCartney songs, but I think once you see what number 1 is, you'll probably agree. So speaking of that, let's go with number 1, Here Comes the Sun, also off of Abbey Road. This, to me, embodies everything that the Beatles were, what made them great. It's pure sunlight. It really is. Just like Penny Lane gives me a smile, this song makes me feel so fantastic. I can hear it in my head. I can hum the little guitar lick. And of course, there's a guitar lick. It's a George Harrison song. The sentiment with the lyrics, it's just, on the surface level, I'm sure I've heard stories about these English winters that can be very, very cold, and then having, the sun come out and warm the ground, melt the snow, just the feeling of that. But, on a symbolic level, just sort of a metaphor for how it will get better. Yeah, it's bad now, but have faith. It's gonna get better. It's such a gift that George and the Beatles gave us this song to remind us of that. And I think that's why this is my favorite Beatles song. I didn't know that this would be my favorite Beatles song when I got into this list. But now that I'm here, it makes so much sense. I mean, because that is really how I go through life. That is how I operate. And so that's what I get out of it. You may have a totally different interpretation, and that's awesome. That's what's so great about Beatles music, what they gave to us, and why they continue to be the Beatles. Why they resonate so much with people all over the world. And so, that is it. That's my top 5 Beatles, my favorite Beatles songs. And of course, this could change, another 10 years, who knows? I could have 5 different songs up here. But for now, 2019, these are my top 5 favorite Beatles songs. But I want to know what yours are. Be sure to leave me a comment down below, listing out your top 5. And maybe a little bit of reason why. You don't have to, but if you want, go ahead and leave that too. And what you think of my top 5 list. If we agree on any of them, that's awesome. And if you want to get in on these types of things, you want to have a choice in what I talk about on a month-to-month basis, head over to my Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can have a voice in this discussion. And it's a more of a direct link to getting in touch with me. All right, well, anyway, that will do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out my top 5 favorite Beatles songs. If you want to see more Beatles content, I put a couple of videos right there, as well as a direct link to my Patreon page.